This episode of Destructoid is brought to you by Carbonite. Coming up on Destructoid, Dead Island is getting a MOBA because there aren't enough MOBAs or zombie games, and there are not one but two Zelda games being released this year. Isn't that lovely? And John Carmack is the Oculus Rift's new CTO, which basically means we're all going to be having flying cars by 2015. All that and more right now on Destructoid.
Welcome to Destructoid. I'm Tara Long.
And I'm Max Scoville.
Happy Friday. I was actually worried earlier today because I didn't see that shirt on you.
Came
and
in
I was
wearing
like, is there going to be a Friday without a Hawaiian shirt?
Came in wearing a black shirt, looking really professional, and then I put on one with turtles on it, so everyone is having a better time now.
Yes.
Speaking of having a good time, some people had a good time at the Nintendo Direct that was this week, which was fairly uneventful as far as announcements go, but we did get a chance to get a look at some of the games that Nintendo will presumably be releasing for us to play at some point in the future when they feel like it. One of the few games on the horizon that actually makes me entertain the thought of maybe buying a Wii U at some point is the HD remake of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, which is coming out this fall. And I gotta say, it is looking rather gorgeous. And of all the games we've seen getting HD remakes, I would say that Wind Waker's kind of cel-shaded style is one of the ones that clicks best with the whole HD upscale thing, along with maybe Jet Set Radio. I think good art direction ages really well, and upscaling looks a lot better when you've got rather simple character models and not a lot of textures. So hey, there's that. In addition to Wind Waker, we're getting The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, which is the goddamn sequel to A Link to the Past, and the game that'll probably finally drive me into buying a 3DS for myself. The new gimmick here is Link's ability to turn into a drawing and run along the edges of walls, a bit in the style of Paper Mario or Chalk Zone, I guess. But honestly, I'm just excited to return to my personal favorite rendition of Hyrule. If you're worried about any content being recycled from the classic Super Nintendo Zelda, worry not, because this is apparently 100% brand new game in terms of assets and puzzles and dungeons and all that. And plus, you can turn into graffiti. If I wasn't already sold on this game, then the news that Link's design has been slightly tweaked would totally win me over at this point. Going from the very serious Link, he's kind of got a serious look on his face, to a much happier, goofy version of Link. I know for a lot of people, Ocarina of Time is the definitive Zelda, but I've always been turned off by its attempts to make Link look like a tough hero, which is probably why I'm so fond of Wind Waker. So I'm happy that he looks like a little rosy-cheeked adventurer. A Link Between Worlds is hitting 3DS sometime around November, and the Wind Waker HD is hitting sometime in October, depending on where you live. So if you are into Zelda, I imagine that's good news, unless you're angry that there's not a totally brand new Wii U Zelda being released, in which case I'm sorry. Yeah,
I'm sorry too. I like the new Link. He looks young and sprightly.
He looks like he's having a good time killing those Octoroks with bombs.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So on to more serious matters. Almost immediately after we shot our Tuesday episode, the news broke that John Carmack was going to be joining the Oculus VR team as their new Chief Technical Officer, or CTO if you're nasty. Now, funny enough, or funnily enough, I guess, if you want to be grammatical about it, id Software, which Carmack founded and basically has been running for the past 22 years, says he won't be leaving their studio completely and will continue to provide leadership for their games in development. So I guess he'll be double dipping a little bit. Carmack actually tweeted himself after the fact saying, "My time division is now Oculus over id over Armadillo. Busy, busy, busy." We get it. Carmack, you're busy. You're a smart man.
He's a brain scientist.
Yes, he is. So we noted in a press release that the dream of VR has been simmering in the background for decades, but now the people and technologies are finally aligning to allow it to reach the potential we imagined, which makes me very excited. Carmack has, of course, been a vocal supporter of the Oculus Rift since it was first revealed last year, so this is probably a pretty natural transition for him, and hey, at least he's going to be amongst friends. It was also announced today that fellow id employee Matt Hooper, who was the creative director of Rage before he left id and Bethesda earlier this year, is also going to be joining the VR team as their new director of development. I may not have been the biggest fan of Rage, but I think this is exciting nonetheless.
This is such good news. Dude, Carmack is like, he invented the things that made first-person shooters a thing. Like that's, I mean, without the id Tech engine, like without Doom and Wolfenstein, like we wouldn't have first-person shooters. And now he's like, hey, I'm gonna mess with those goggles, you know, because
you come here with me.
Because I'm bored of doing rocket science in my spare time. That man is incredible. So
I trust his judgments.
Flying cars by 2015, I guarantee it. with the Oculus Rift to drive them for the HUD. Anyway, before the Ouya's Kickstarter success, I don't recall a whole lot of discussion about the idea of Android being used for gaming beyond phones and tablets, but now the idea of an Android-powered console has become a pretty commonplace concept. A while back, we heard some rumors that Google would be throwing their hat into the ring with an Android console of their own, allegedly manufactured by their Motorola hardware wing. And while there's still no word on that particular project, it does look like Amazon is joining in as well, with plans for an Android box releasing sometime before the end of the year, presumably before Black Friday. Nothing official yet, but I mean, people are whispering about it, and that means it must be true. Allegedly, the console will have its own dedicated controller, and combined with Amazon's pre-existing library of games, as well as their track record with the Kindle and Kindle Fire, this seems like it could totally actually be a thing. Of course, the question is, will this device be pushed as a gaming device or as an all-in-one media center? Well, it's 2013, so I would say probably the latter, because duh, I mean, the Xbox is being sold as a TV box thing. Now, Google has a pretty good idea of what they're doing in a lot of areas, but I feel like the Android marketplace is something of a squalid mess, especially when it comes to finding games, and this is kind of exacerbated by the sheer number of different Google-branded Android devices that there are floating around out there with all different, specifications and so forth. Amazon, on the other hand, is Amazon.com with things on it. They are a storefront, and their shit is curated pretty amazingly well for the most part. Plus with the vast number of existing Amazon Prime members out there, they basically have, same here. They basically have their own version of PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold in place already. But then again, the Kindle Fire doesn't quite hold up to the Nexus 7, so it really depends on what kind of hardware they are messing with. But you guys at home, given the choice between buying an Android box from Ouya, Google, or Amazon, who would you go with? What do you think?
Ooh, I don't know. I am an Amazon Prime member. I love Amazon. I also like Google. But I don't know. Google's been kind of weird lately. I feel like Amazon...
I feel like they oversaturate. And I feel like Amazon, they might not have the best hardware, but they're good at kind of being like...
their marketplace is way better than Google's.
Here are 3 Kindles you can choose from,
Yeah.
Of
I'm
course,
sure it'll pop up on all 3.
If I'm going to get a little box to put in my already crowded living room, I might hold out for a Steam box, but then again, that might be a while. So
if there's one thing we have less of in the future, it's definitely not options. So, speaking of which, Dead Island, the series that ironically just won't die, is getting another game, and this time it's really not what you think it is. Unless you heard this news already, in which case it's probably exactly what you think. Dead Island Epidemic was announced by Deep Silver a couple days ago as an upcoming free-to-play MOBA made for PC. Yeah. That's a thing. This was actually a surprisingly low-key announcement, so we don't even have a screenshot to show you except for this logo, but Deep Silver did give a few hints about the game. According to them, it's set to feature all of the trademark elements that are part of the Dead Island experience, but with 3 teams fighting to survive instead of the standard 2 for MOBAs. That is literally all the information we have, but there is a full reveal scheduled for Gamescom, which is happening in Germany, August 21st through the 25th. There's also a very, very bare-bones website that they set up at deadislandepidemic.com, where you can put in your email address and subscribe to their Outbreak newsletter, which is probably the funnest newsletter you'll ever get.
That sounds like something I'm just not remotely interested in.
I know.
I really could not. I don't think I could be less excited about that. I'm surprised they don't have a really, really gorgeous slow motion trailer that makes it look really impressive. And emotional, and then the actual game comes out and numbers fly out of everything and it's kind of janky. Anyway, I don't know.
I cannot believe how much they're milking that franchise, especially after Riptide, which did not do well.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. MOBAs, there's so many MOBAs out there. Everything has a MOBA because they're, presumably, I guess, easier to make than super large scale games,
but then it's also like there's smaller
free-to-play
things.
Model. I don't know. Anyway,
to tweak,
they make money, and so do we. So let's take a word from our sponsor.
Yes. Computer crashes happen to everyone. It's just one of those immutable facts of life, so why not protect yourself before it happens? With Carbonite, your pictures and other files are automatically and continually backed up off-site, protecting them from a crash, fire, theft, alien invasion, or any other kind of natural or man-made disaster. And the best part is, once you do it, you'll never have to do it again because it remembers to back itself up on its own. Whether you have 1, 2, or maybe even 10 computers at your home or small business, Carbonite is simply the better backup plan. Over 1 million customers trust them to protect their files, and with plans starting at only $59 a year, there's really no reason not to try it. Hit up Carbonite.com to start your free trial, and if you decide to buy, we will give you 2 bonus months absolutely free because we love you. All you have to do is put in the offer code DESTRUCTOID at Carbonite.com, and again, That is 2 free months. We're just giving out all the free
Just
stuff.
type in Destructoid on
Yeah.
Carbonite, and then you get it. Cha-ching.
That's one of those things that you always swore you'd do, and then you don't, and then
you feel dumb.
and it happens, and then you feel really dumb afterwards.
Go forth and harness the cloud, children.
Yes.
So we are in that lovely phase of the video game console life cycle when everyone is picking sides over a plastic machine that they haven't actually played themselves and arguing over which one is going to dominate the next 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 or however many years of video gaming. And during this rough time, it is our job, us right here, to fan the flames and add some fuel to the fire. Breaking, the vile, hateful $500 embodiment of all evil known as the Xbox One that also plays games has announced yet another one of its plans to literally suck money out of your wallet so that you have to walk around wearing a burlap sack instead of clothes.
Scandal.
Yeah, last week we told you how the Xbox One can record 720p video at 30 frames per second. Just right off your gameplay, it'll log the last 5 minutes of it so you can upload your sick no-scope headshots directly to YouTube or whatever. And this week, we found out that this feature will require an Xbox Live Gold account.
Boo.
Yeah, you gotta pay for it. Meanwhile, when asked on Twitter whether or not a PlayStation Plus account will be required to use the same feature on PlayStation 4, Sony's Shuhei Yoshida answered succinctly, no. Proving once and for all that it is our one true king, our true savior, which will deliver us from evil and probably also play games. PlayStation 4, everybody. Round of applause.
Yay.
I'm kidding. If you like to get in arguments on the internet about which plastic box is cooler than the other, even if you haven't seen one in person, let alone played a game on it, there's some more fodder for your arguments. But I mean, it's sort of like...
I already have an Xbox Live Gold account, so I can't really complain about this from a personal standpoint, but it is crappy.
I mean, I feel like for the most part, people are kind of they're gonna buy one or the other. We're all like, as gamers, and we're really close to this, and we're all kind of crapping all over the Xbox One, and we're like, no one's gonna buy it. They don't want those lies. They don't want that crap. And a lot of people are like, you know, my friends list from Call of Duty carries over, which is pretty cool.
That's literally more important to them than any of the features on the Xbox One.
The social stuff is built in, and also there's the fact that, and this hurts my head a little bit, that people would drop this amount of money without doing any research, but people will look at the price point and assume that one is better than the other because it's more expensive.
Yeah,
people will be like,
that's absolutely true.
That one costs more, and therefore it is cooler.
Yeah, and if they play a lot of online games, then maybe they'll actually like a lot of the features that it has that other people hate.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know.
That is all the time we have for today's show, though. Once again, I apologize that we could not be live, but our producer is taking a much-needed vacation to Arstotzka.
What the hell was that?
It's a Papers, Please joke.
Oh,
you gotta get on that shit, man.
Fine. Okay.
We're gonna be back here on Tuesday with my new permanent temporary co-host, Adam Sessler. Max is gonna be out doing what?
I'm gonna be playing a computer game in which you own a dog. That's right.
Really?
Yeah. Call of Duty.
Oh, right.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week, guys.
Good night.
Well, I won't. Bye.